Wait till this goes up. All right, so we are now live. It's 10 a.m. Sunday morning here in Tucson. If you are listening to Any Given Sunday with Rob Leano on KAMP Student Radio, that is KAMP 1570 AM and kamp.arizona.edu. I'd also like to welcome those who are tuning in via Google Hangouts and the Armchair All-Americans. The last time we had a discussion with ACAA, we discussed the beginning of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. That was 3 weeks ago, and now first round is concluded. Second round is, it's underway. We already have a few games started, and today with me here today, I've got another member of the Armchair All-Americans, different correspondent from the last discussion. So before we begin, we're going to introduce ourselves. So we're going to go with, like last time, our name and our favorite NHL team. So my name is Rob Leano, and my favorite NHL team, if you can't tell, is the San Jose Sharks.
Yes, Rob. I'm Aaron Socha, and I'm actually a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. So praying we can pull them out.
All right, yeah. So one of the things we're going to start off talking about is the we're going to recap the first round, and we're actually going to go in order from the games that were needed. So we're going to go from 5 to 7. So yeah, you said you're a Lightning fan, so why don't we start with that? The Tampa Bay Lightning beat the Detroit Red Wings in 5 games. What are some of the biggest stories that come out of that?
Well, the biggest one I could see was Jonathan Drouin coming back after being almost a distraction in the first round, in the regular season, getting sent down to Syracuse and being almost a trade bait type deal. But he came out and played exceptionally well as Nikita Kucherov came out and had himself a series and put I think it was five or six goals on the board for Tampa.
I believe it
was.
That's right. Yeah.
5 or 6 goals through 5 games, and he hasn't stopped. So definitely Bishop played well as always, and it was a good series for Tampa. They came back and took out Detroit second year in a row.
That's definitely good. One of the things I was actually looking for, I was actually hoping that to be a lot closer of a series. It's no secret that was most likely Datsuk's last series as an NHL player.
Yeah.
What do you think about his most likely move going to Russia?
I mean, I understand why, fan and everything, but he's a great player and all around. I would have liked to be more competitive for him. Last year's series in round 2 when we played Detroit, I mean, they came out and they really gave it to us, and it was a fun series to watch. And it was sad as an NHL fan to watch a series like that happen, but as a Tampa fan, it was more on the happy side. But like you said, it was definitely a little sad to see Datsuk go out like that.
Absolutely, and because Datsuk was he's been the one that been able to carry the Red Wings to as part of that whole 25 straight going into the playoffs, which I think is crazy. So to see him go is a really sad thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And so this other game that actually happened, and round 1, the other series actually, this is going with my team. It was actually a really shocker. So we actually had so many predictions made on this one. So many people said, the LA Kings will win this one in 7 games, 6 games, 5 games. That didn't happen. San Jose won in 5 games. And before I give my own input on this, I want to know what were your thoughts, having a San Jose team like this, who's usually one that doesn't play well in the playoffs, to play as well as they did against this really strong LA team?
I will say I don't watch a lot of West Coast hockey, but I will say this: it was a surprise to look and go to sports and see, wow, the Sharks did it again. They pulled out another one, because I mean the Kings have weapons between Jonathan Quick and their shooters. I mean, the Kings were, I think, in my part, they're starting to become more and more of a favorite out in LA. And for San Jose to go in and win five and win in five and get on to the next round, it was an impressive sight to see.
Yeah, one of the surprising things to come out of that series is that the LA Kings could not win a single game at home, or if you look at the other way around, San Jose was undefeated on the road at Staples Center, even in the regular season. Of course, that comes as part of what they call road ice advantage, because they do have the best road record in the NHL right now, and I really think that they did really well. Looking at Brett, it's kind of funny that right now in the playoffs, Brett Burns, a defenseman, has the second most points in the for a NHL player. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like I said, I mean, in any kind of series, no matter what sport you're playing, taking any kind of home ice advantage away from somebody is great. So the Sharks being able to do that was definitely a reason they could pull that series out in a very quick fashion.
I'm definitely glad that happened. And the next, of course, we had of course one more 5-game series that actually happened, and that was the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Rangers. Actually, this one actually kind of surprised me a little bit, given that Pittsburgh was down to their third-string goalie for the most part, and the Rangers had Henrik Lundqvist, so it was like almost a given that I'm like, oh, Rangers will probably win this one in 5 or 6 games, but Pittsburgh won in 5 games, and they actually killed the Rangers, and even the last game, like Lundqvist allowed 6 goals in the last game, which didn't look like Lundqvist to me. But what do you think when you saw that?
I mean, even going back and looking at the scores, it started. I mean, game 1 was 5-2, and that went to Pittsburgh. Game 3 was 3-1. Game 4 was 5-0, and game 5 was 6-3. I mean, Lundqvist didn't look like himself. I know he did get kind of beaten up and hit in the eye that one game, but you don't want to blame it on that. It is the playoffs. Obviously, Crosby and Malkin, it's a good combo, and they're a good type team. So it is a little bit of a shock, but I'm definitely interested to see. I know we're not talking second round yet, but interested to see what the next round kind of continues on. I know games have started, but
yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Games going on there, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is like, when we made that predictions, we didn't really expect that. But of course, like you said, it is the NHL playoffs, and in the last discussion I had with Robert and Dan, they pretty much said that the NHL playoffs are the most unpredictable postseason tournament in sports, because the NBA playoffs, which is also going on right now, it's actually pretty predictable. You can expect what's going to happen because it's set up so the better team wins. But here in the NHL playoffs, you don't know what's going to happen.
No, and it's definitely, hockey's one of those sports where you got to go out, play 60 minutes of hockey. You can't let your guard down and make it happen. I mean, I remember last year against Detroit, we were down. It was 2-2 going into in Game 6, and thinking Tyler Johnson comes down and scored with 3 seconds left in overtime, or right before overtime, to win Game 6 and send it to Game 7. So, I mean, you have to play every second in the NHL, or it's not gonna. It might not happen for you. So,
absolutely, and that definitely, like what we're talking about here, definitely falls through in a lot of these other series, especially the 6 and 7 game ones, and. One of them actually is actually a lot of these were quite surprising in that they went to even 6 games, because some of them we thought was going to be, at least experts would have thought would be landslide victories on one side or the other. And one of them is, to start off, would be the New York Islanders beating the Florida Panthers in 6 games. It was kind of a split thing there. A lot of people thought Florida would win because, best team in the Atlantic. They looked really well. They had that huge point streak in the middle of the season. And the Islanders, I mean, they had some injuries, but, they showed up and they were able to win. And 2 of the games actually went to double overtime, which I thought was, that's what I think is the true spirit of hockey.
Yeah, for sure. And the last 2 games actually went to double overtime, and then Game 3 also went to overtime. all those 3 games were won by the Islanders. And like you said, it's overtime hockey in the playoffs is you can't ask for anything better in sports. I mean, it just everything comes down. Everyone's on the edge of their seats. Everyone's standing. It's a great time. But like you said, Florida was great. I mean, Yager, you can't. The man's. I mean, there's nothing you can really say. He's amazing as anything. But Tavares stepped up. Grice. Honestly, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry. But he played his heart out, and I mean he made incredible saves when he needed them, and it the victory. And it was a very, like you said, it was an even series. I don't think you could have really 100% picked the winner of that one.
Yeah, and I was actually making this comment on our group chat that all of us are in, that it was really surprising to me to see Thomas Greiss on the Islanders do something like that. You know, he's still considered a backup goalie to Halak, who's still off on an injury, but you know he's definitely showed up to prove himself that he deserves that starting position, which still surprises me in the way that I still think of him as the backup to Evgeny Nabokov during his years with the San Jose Sharks, and you know Nabokov being one of the great ones that ever to play on the Sharks. I'm like think of wow, just how long that Thomas Greiss has come to see how well he's doing. Glad he's doing well with the Islanders right now, and that was a great series. He definitely deserved that series win.
Yeah, and I agree. Whenever you see a guy who started as a backup or who has fought his way through the NHL to do something like this and get a first round victory and move your team on, a team that hasn't made the second round, won a series yet alone in 23 years. I mean, it's great to see it happen, and it's good for him.
Yeah, and actually, very similar. If you actually go back to the San Jose series real quick, the goaltender Martin Jones, that was actually his first playoff series win, because the past few years before that he was back up to Jonathan Quick, which is interesting to see because he actually beat his old mentor in that interesting fashion. So we see it happen a lot.
Yeah. See.
But anyways, the other 6-game series that happened, actually, I was surprised to see this one go to 6. I thought it was going to be 5. The Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, that was a little shocking. I mean, obviously Minnesota stole one in Game 5 in overtime. I mean, whenever you can get one in overtime, it helps. And like you said, it didn't look like a series that should have gone to 6. I mean, Dallas came out, was dominant the first 2 games, and then it shifted a little. In the games 3 to 5 were back and forth, and it looked like Minnesota had a chance, but Dallas ended up just kind of pulling up the big boy pants and getting out of there. But it was definitely a surprise, like you said, to go to 6.
Yeah, and one of the things that you saw is like through the games, you didn't really know what would happen. Where Dallas was actually kind of switching off between the goalies. They'd be switching between Letton and Niemi, which really, if you look at the difference, Niemi got, I think, at least one of those wins, and then it's when you go through those games, I really thought it probably. Like with how Minnesota was playing, they probably could have forced. They actually almost did force a Game 7 in that last game. I think like they were down like 3-0 and ended up being like 4-5. They barely lost that game, which part of what all of us say in any game of hockey, it's not over till it's over.
Saying that game one. Games 2 to 6 were all decided by less than 2 goals. The only 2-goal game was Game 3. All the rest were, I mean, Dallas 2-1, 5-3, 3-2, 5-4 in overtime, and 5-4 in Game 6. I mean, Minnesota played. They came to play, and it definitely shocked it.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about that in the last discussion, is that Minnesota, like Minnesota, while they were on that huge, like, what was it, like 10-game losing streak going into the playoffs, once they're in, then they managed to win at least just a few games. They you can give them you don't underestimate them because they probably have a chance of stealing a series. Of course, they didn't. Dallas ended up winning, but they were able to prove themselves to that they still deserved that playoff spot.
Exactly.
And then the other surprising one, actually, we're going to move on from that, in which I actually thought it was going to be either 4 or 5 games, was between Washington and Philadelphia. With how strong Washington was, I thought that was going to be just a blowout.
Yeah, obviously, Ovechkin played well this year in Washington. They did end up winning the President's Cup, correct?
Yeah, they just
I believe
by 11 points, more than anybody else.
They got it pretty easily. For Philadelphia to come out in games 4 and 5 and steal 2, it was definitely a shock to go to 6. Like you said, I could have seen them stealing maybe 1 at home, but to get game 5 on the road, that was huge for them. But Washington, Ovechkin kind of put it on himself and said, "I'm not letting this happen again," and got out of the first round. So it was good for him to advance. And like you said, it was definitely a surprise.
Yeah, and while we're talking about this series, let's actually take a little bit of time to actually talk about what happened on Game 3, if you're able to watch that, where the Philadelphia Flyers were honoring their owner during the pregame, and after the Capitals took a major lead in the third period, they just started throwing wristbands onto the ice, and just terrible sportsmanship by the Philadelphia fans. I really didn't like what I saw there.
No, and I understand you're not happy. It's Game 3. You're getting almost blown out at home. I understand it, but you're respecting you're honoring a very important person in your tradition and in your heritage and stuff. And not in your heritage, in your team. And it's just why waste your time? Just get it over with. Go to Game 4. You just delayed everything. You made it look bad for yourself. And even now people are still talking about it on SportsCenter and everything. Why does Philadelphia have to be this town even that just has terrible sports fans, quote unquote? And I don't think they're all like that. I know they're passionate, and it's a sport where you have to be passionate. I understand it, but I don't like what happened.
Yeah, we definitely don't like what happened, but of course you do understand that frustration is. We have had several times, even in San Jose, in which our own team would get booed, and I think that was just a couple of years ago when they got reverse swept by LA. Of course, frustration happens, but there's got to be there's that certain limit in which you're like, all right, this is just unacceptable. But
yeah,
it happened.
I agree. It's one. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was finished what I was saying. So,
it's one thing to boo and everything. It's one thing to get upset with management and stuff. It's another thing to throw stuff at players and on the ice. I know it wasn't anything too harmful, but it was still could have been bad in cases.
Yeah. So, while that happened, it's kind of interesting to see after that happened, Philadelphia got those 2 wins, but of course Washington ended up getting the Game 6 victory. So it was interesting to see that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But interesting, we had 2 games go into 7 games, and actually, for me, really no surprise there. I really saw both of these going to Game 7, because the matchups, both of these were just incredibly close. I could barely call any of them. I just had to make a gut call. And so starting with St. Louis and Chicago, I actually predicted St. Louis to win in 7 games during our pre-show. And that's what happened. What do you think? What happened with Chicago? They were eliminated. They were one of the favorites.
I mean, obviously coming out of the Stanley Cup last year, Chicago's always going to be. They've always been good, and with Patrick Kane and all their boys over there, it's a tough team to play. I mean, it's like Detroit good heritage, and they or not. God, I don't know why I keep saying heritage. They have a good tradition and a good way of life. But Lewis came out and definitely impressed. I mean, I knew they were getting from the start and taking game 1 and 3 and 4. I mean, and we're determined to prove Chicago wrong. And I was definitely happy when they took down Chicago. I'll say that. But it was definitely Chicago. Tip your hat to Chicago. Played well, but like you said, St. Louis is a team to be reckoned with in the West.
I mean, like defensively, they just played really well, and
they did.
It's crazy to see like how that happened, and really, they just no matter what, they deserve that. Despite the fact that like it was Kane getting the Art Ross Trophy, and like it's you really look at it. It was Chicago that eliminated St. Louis in like the past like 2 to 3 years. And really, it was St. Louis' time to have their revenge on Chicago, and they finally got it, and now they're in the second round going against Dallas, in which we'll talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, and then of course, going on from there, the other really good one we had Nashville and Anaheim. This one, like none of us could really make a call because this was really, really tough because they're two solid teams. You had like a really like Anaheim with their like everything that they've been doing, and Nashville. I mean, it's really hard to predict what would happen because we said in the previous discussion, is Pekka Rinne can really change the momentum of the series if he plays like Pekka Rinne, but it's it's unpredictable to see how that happened. Of course, he did show up in Game 7, and that's what gave him the victory. But wow, what a series was that! That was amazing.
I mean, like you said, he can steal a show, and he proved it. But this series was very back and forth. I mean, it was 2-0 Nashville. Then Anaheim came rearing back, and then Nashville gets Game 6 to send it back to Anaheim. And I mean, they said it all the time, but won a Game 7 at home in I think 4 appearances, and it's they couldn't get it done. I mean, Nashville came out and Pekka played his heart out and made some incredible saves. If you haven't seen him, you definitely need to go watch him. And it was, I know you were excited to see Nashville go on and face your Sharks because that's going to be a good series to watch. So.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And so with actually that in mind, like we said, so Chicago's out, Anaheim is out, Los Angeles is out. So those are right now, like those are 3 of the Western Conference favorites all out. So
yeah,
it's crazy. So with that in mind, who do you see is going to be representing the Western Conference in the Stanley Cup Finals?
I mean, that's a tough question. It's all over the place. I like what Nashville can do if Pekka can play consistently. He had his 3 games where he kind of fell apart and they went on the slide, and I don't think they do that against San Jose. I don't think they'll be able to stay ahead. I like what the Blues did defensively, and I feel like defense can win championships in any sport, but I think it comes down to the fact I think our Western Conference will be the Blues. I don't want to give a prediction on who's going to go in because I'm not 100% sure on those 2, but I definitely think it's down between the Blues and the Sharks because I think that series is up in the air and can go 7 games easily.
All right, and if I would probably give my prediction in the in the previous discussion in the first hangout, my actually prediction was that it will be a member of the Pacific Division, whether it be San Jose, Anaheim, or Los Angeles. Now, since Los Angeles and Anaheim are out, that leaves San Jose. I'm going to stick with my prediction, and I mean, like, not trying to be biased here, but I do think that San Jose does have what it takes to take it into the finals.
No, yeah, I agree. It can definitely. It's anyone's game, but it will definitely come down to tough defense and who can score goals. And I do believe that either St. Louis or San Jose can get it done, and it'll be a good playoff series no matter what. So.
All right, and yeah, definitely. With that in mind, we should probably start moving on to the round two. So we had a few games go on already, but let's still talk about maybe what we think is going to be going on with these series. And the first one, we're going to start with the Eastern Conference. We started the Western last time, so let's go Eastern. So this first one we have is probably, we would say, is most likely the biggest one, which would be the Capitals versus the Penguins, because, it's that huge Ovi versus Crosby fight again. It's, it's like I don't know, so many times in the last decade these two played each other in the playoffs. It's just like a show going on and over and over and over again.
Exactly. It's like Rocky. There's like 18 different matchups that you can make every kind of movie you want. But no, I do believe this will be a good series. If obviously it's already going through, but yeah, I think it could go 6 or 7 games easily. I don't think it'll be one side. Obviously, it's a 1-1 series. One game was already decided in overtime, and both games were decided by 1 goal. So I do think it'll be at least 6 or 7 easy.
Who would you think would win that one?
I'm going to say Pittsburgh, but I also want to go with Ovi. I think I'm going to have to go Pittsburgh in 7.
All right.
Just because I think Crosby can get it done.
And actually, I was just about to say that same thing. I really think that Crosby was going to get it done, and I was going to say Pittsburgh in 7 too, because that's really just seeing Pittsburgh play, in the last series and, have them dominate a lot of playoff teams in the regular season. They have what it takes, the entire team, and of course Crosby, they have what it takes to move on to the next round.
Yeah, exactly. Crosby and Malkin can score goals when they want, and whoever's in net is gonna stop anything. They were a great team in the regular season, like you said. They've been able to do it in the playoffs, so it's definitely going to be a good series and should be interesting for any fan to watch.
But one thing we should keep in mind, though, is Holtby for the Capitals. He's definitely going to show up. He's one of the probably. He's in contention for the Vezina, which we're going to talk about later in this show. But he's definitely going to be a factor. Probably going to be one of the reasons why he's going to go to a 7-game series. And but like we said, I still think that Pittsburgh will pull it off.
Yeah, I agree.
So now we're going to move into your territory. So we got the New York Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Where do you go with this series?
Well, after game 1, I was a little heartbroken. New York came out and played well, and we made a push there at the end, scoring 2 goals late, but before Clutterbuck finished us off. But I do see this game going 6. I think 6 max. Last night's game, I didn't get to watch much of it, but Hedman had a power play goal. Johnson scored 2, which is his second this postseason, or his second multi-goal game this postseason already, playoff goal. And like I said earlier, with him being a distraction in the regular season, I said in the group chat, I think during the Detroit series, his forechecking and his getting to the miss and his shots on goal I like where he's going, and I like where he's changed his attitude, and he really understands that he wants to be here and he wants to play with a team that has potential to get back to the finals and possibly win it. I know we're down. We don't have Strawman. We don't have Stamkos, but I think with Bishop in net, if as long as he doesn't have another game one, I think this will be a 6-game series, and I think Tampa will go on.
All right, and for me, actually, I was interesting. We're actually on the same line here. I've got listed on here Tampa Bay in 6 games. As much as I love just watching Tavares play, I mean, you know, he's been putting up those points like crazy, and seeing Thomas Greiss there, and you know, just definitely not going to discount the Islanders, but Tampa Bay, I mean, like, even without, like what you said, Stamkos and Strawman, it's how well they're playing without him is crazy. I really think that with that, they're going to be able to pull it off, and that's why I got them going in 6.
Yeah, it's coming into this postseason, I was a little shaky as a Lightning fan, being like when Stamkos went out to have surgery, and it was Strawman went down with a broken leg. It was kind of hold your breath. Tyler Nikita one spark, so when Nikita came out and started shooting and firing on all cylinders, I think that really got the triplets back into it and got everybody going, and Bishop played his heart out like always made.
All right, so with that in mind, then I mean, definitely, like, we still both agree on that. Then let's take a look at Dallas and St. Louis.
Yeah, the Dallas and St. Louis series. Again, that one has started. I think that one will go 6 as well, and I think St. Louis will pull that off, and only because of the way their defense played in round 1 against Chicago. I understand they had a long series and they didn't get too much rest, and I know Dallas didn't have too much rest as well, but I do think St. Louis has the parts to get through, and like I said, it's between them and San Jose, honestly, in the West, I believe. So I think that'll definitely be a 6-game St. Louis takes that one.
You know, it's amazing how very similar our predictions are, because I also got St. Louis in 6 games. And really my reasons are, like what you said, you know, we had the whole defense wins championships thing. And of course, it couldn't be more true. The right now, Dallas, they are probably one of the top offenses in the playoffs right now. But without Sagan, it's going to be, because he's still out. Without him, it's going to be a little bit rough for them. And I still think that, you know, with how St. Louis played against Chicago defensively, and they're going to continue to play like that. And I really think that, 6 games, St. Louis.
Yeah, I agree.
So with that, then the final game in the second round is the San Jose Sharks and Nashville Predators. I'm going to probably go with my prediction first this time. Right now, I got San Jose winning in 6 games. You know, I have, like, I'm looking right now. It's defensively, the Sharks are looking really, really healthy. Justin Braun, Brent Burns, Mark-Edward Vlasic, Paul Martin, they're all stepping up to their top potential. Game 1, they did look a little rusty, but I'm still, they ended up picking it up. So I got to say that looks good for them. And I got to say, that second line right now for San Jose, they are fast and they are going to get to the net, like, literally, like, incredibly quick. And I'm amazed to see how well they're playing. And I mean, as much as a great goalie Pekka Rinne is for Nashville, I think that how great San Jose's offense is. You know, that depth chart is just crazy when I look at it, and that's why I got them going in 6 games.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, they came out a little rusty, and I mean, I saw that a little bit in the first few periods I watched, but going back to like you guys finished in 5 games, and Tampa finished in 5 games. You guys came out rusty. Tampa came out fast, but then fell off going in. San Jose picked it up and got through. And like you said, if you have goal scorers on your team, it doesn't matter because your defense can give up 2 goals on a rusty night and still be able to put up 5 or 6 goals past. If you can put up 5 or 6 goals past Pekka, you'll win it. I think this series could either go. I want to be bold and go 5 games. And only because I feel like Nashville is a good team, but I almost feel like their luck has kind of ran out due to the long series against Anaheim and them having to fight back an elimination game back and back and back. So I think 5 games. I think San Jose in 5.
All right, so I mean, that's definitely possible. But given how San Jose's been playing well, I mean, like you said, I mean they had that speed against LA, and then in the third period against Nashville. It's I'm definitely excited to see how well they're going to do. And while we're talking about the San Jose series, before the San Jose that first game won, there was a little friend that came crawling across the ice, a little black cat. A lot of people were making predictions whether it be a bad omen for the San Jose Sharks. I really. It's amazing though how many people are making a joke out of it. Like it's like, oh, let's name it, let's make it a new mascot. It's being in that whole San Jose Sharks fan zone. I'm listening to what all the fans are saying. It's pretty funny.
I mean, hey, if it works, it works. It's kind of like it's like the whole superstition thing. The Florida Panthers used to throw those plastic rats on the ice. I mean, if a cat ran across the ice, keep it. I mean, you might have to get a cat every game if that happens. run it across the ice every series. I mean, no, it's a great thing to see, and it's. I know everybody's kind of was paranoid about it, but hey, if it worked, I don't see what's wrong with it. Keep it. Go get a cat and do it every series.
All right. I'm glad to hear all this. So those are all our predictions. It's crazy. We went through our preview for round 2, and just over the last week, actually, we're going to move on to another topic. Is that so? We had go through 4 different awards. We had finalists announced throughout last week, and we're going to go through each of them and maybe see who we think would win wow, lost for words here. Would win each of these awards. So with that in mind, let's start with the Vezina Trophy. For those of you guys who do not know, the Vezina Trophy is awarded to the best goaltender of the year. Right now, those 3 finalists are Braden Holtby of the Washington Capitals, Ben Bishop of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Jonathan Quick of the LA Kings. I'll let you think what you have first.
I'm not going to be biased here. I think Braden Holtby is going to win this flat out. I mean, like they've done in the regular season, they were the President's Cup trophy winners, and I think he had something like 48 wins this season. It was something ridiculous. Like the guy was unstoppable. You couldn't get anything past him. I think that's why they're so good. I mean, his last game, he had 42 of 45 shots, or 42 saves out of 45 shots. I mean, the guy is just you can't put anything past him, and if you do, you're lucky, if anything. But I do think he'll win pretty easily. I mean, I know Bishop played well, but you can't beat 48 wins in a season and a goalie that you can't get anything past.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I think with how well he played, that was totally in like if you look at Washington's goal differential, like I said earlier, it's like in the last discussion that plus 51. I mean, Holtby's numbers definitely contribute to that with how little goals he allowed, and there's just looking at all those factors, there's really almost no other choice other than Holtby.
No, yeah, there's no way you get a plus 51 goal differential without a goaltender who can stop, who can have a one goal shutout type series, like type games. I mean, unless you're scoring 7, 8 goals a night and he's given up like 4 or 5, I don't see a 51 goal differential coming out of that. So he's definitely my choice for the Vezina.
Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. Ben Bishop and Jonathan Quick are two fantastic goaltenders, but Holtby is just on a whole other level.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
All right, so with that in mind, the next one I have on this list is the Norris Trophy, which is awarded to the best defensive player of the year. Those 3 finalists currently are Drew Doughty of the LA Kings, Erik Karlsson of the Ottawa Senators, and Brent Burns of the San Jose Sharks. I'll let you take this one first, and then I'll go with mine.
Well, like I said, I'm not too much of a West Coast hockey guy, but I like what Drew Doughty does. He definitely plays his style, but I think I'm going to have to go with your San Jose Sharks because it's just the way you said their lines know how to play hockey, and they're quick. They get back. They know how to stop pucks, and you got to be able to put your body on the line as a defenseman and help your goalie out. And if you can't do that, you can't win games. And the way San Jose's been playing, it just seems like they're ready to get out there, and he's definitely part of the solution.
And I definitely agree with you. I was going to say Brett Burns also, because while all these aren't his numbers, if you just look at the San Jose defense in general, against LA in the entire series, they accounted for 115 blocked shots, which is actually pretty amazing. And not only that, for Brett Burns, he played from playing for the blue line. The fact that he had 75 points in the regular season to be one of the most really close to being one of the most points in the NHL. He's got the most goals scored of any defensive player in the league, and so you could definitely see he's definitely the best offensive defenseman on top of how well he plays defensively. So he's got the best of both worlds right there.
Yeah, and any defenseman that can get down the ice and sit at the blue line or get in the slot and take shots and score goals, anyone that can do everything like an offensive defenseman, he's an asset to their team, and he really helps out everywhere. So I definitely think Brett Burns wins that one.
All right, so our next one then would be the Selk Trophy, which is the best defensive forwards. So with those we have Patrice Bergeron of the Boston Bruins, Andrei Kopitar of the LA Kings, and Ryan Kessler of the Anaheim Ducks.
Well, Kessler's been back and forth for a while. He definitely was trying to make a little switch. I think I'm gonna have to go with Kopitar on this one, only because the LA Kings, he seems like every night he gets down there, he'll score a goal for you, and he'll definitely get back and do what he can. But it's between Kopitar and Bergeron, because I just feel like they're both great assets to their teams, and I don't know. You never know with like trophy winners. I can never pick defensively, like defensive categories. I can never pick who would officially win that.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard one to decide. Right now, I've got Kopitar winning it. I mean, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. I mean, I would almost never, under any circumstances, pick an LA King to win an LA King to win a trophy because of the rivalry that we have. But you gotta tip your hat where it's due. And whenever we played the LA Kings, Andrei Kopitar would be one of the guys to, not only score goals but to block shots when he needed to and play defensively, neutralize any offensive play when possible. And watching that from a Sharks perspective, I think he deserves it.
I totally agree. If you can, like you said, blocking shots and being able to to stop. So, I mean, I think he deserves it for multiple reasons. And anyone that'll lay their body on the line in hockey is always the best.
All right, and so the final. I've got I have the Lady Bing Award. We just had these. Were just recently the finalists were just recently announced. So that one was pretty much for sportsmanship. It's an interesting one. Don't know exactly how they decide that. Maybe through how they play off. But we see Alexander Barkov of the Florida Panthers, Louis Eriksson of the Boston Bruins, and once again Anze Kopitar of the LA Kings.
Like you said, I don't really know how they determine a sportsmanship award in hockey. I mean, it's definitely one of those sports where sportsmanship after a finals or after a series, you guys hang out and they shake hands and they congratulate each other. But it looks like night in and night out they go head to head, and I'm gonna have to pick Barkov in this situation only because Florida was one of those teams where they were kind of the whipping boys of the East last year, and they were able to make a stretch and get up to the playoffs and played well. But like you said, that's a hard one to determine. I don't know what you would consider sportsmanship, like in the NHL. I mean, there's nothing really you can, unless it's more off the ice type deals, but that's not really sportsmanship. So I don't know. I'm just going to have to go with Barkov only because he's an East boy and he's from Florida. But I, like you said, I don't know how you can determine that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, really, I don't have, like, because I know I have on my my document here, I bolded each person I have win. I don't have anyone bolded on here because I'm like I want to pick Kopitar again, but at the same time, like, after, like, in general, watching, like, listening to any of the Kings, how they reacted to the Shark series, sportsmanship, but not to me. I think I'm not sure. I mean, Kopitar gave, like, he tipped his hat where it's due, but at the same time, he kind of one of those players that kind of complained because the refs didn't make a certain call or whatever. I don't know if that's going to play into how it's decided, but I would say it's a hard one for me. I can't make a decision.
No, and I mean, I don't know if you can 100% take into what happens in the playoffs because the playoffs are plenty all over the place and people are going to lose their temper. So, I mean, but like you said, it's really not. I don't know how they decide that, and it'll be interesting to see who wins that one.
Yeah, there are so many other trophies out there, which is crazy. A lot of them are really weird. Like, there is, like, some of them which I know they decide, like, they're it's a lot like those NFL awards where I feel like they just make them up so, like, more people win. But one of them, actually, I didn't have listed on here. I don't have the finalists because they didn't announce them yet. But maybe we could just pick a hat out of the blue if you can think of one. But for the Calder Memorial Award, which is the Rookie of the Year, if you know anybody who deserves that one, do you know?
Oh man, I mean, who came out as a rookie this year? Is that bad that I don't even really? Well, I guess Connor McDavid was out, or was he last year? Shows how much I follow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know too many rookies outside of right now, but like, personally for me, like, of course, showing my bias, I was gonna pick a San Jose Shark, with Jonas Donskoy, games, the San Jose games from the LA series or even this series with Nashville. Donskoy is that guy in the second line. He's going fast. He's scoring goals, and he's really showing up as a rookie in the playoffs. And I really think having him as an asset right there is that's something really to think about.
Yeah, and you'd love to see young guys getting out there and getting their taste of playoff hockey year one. Like you said, when Drew came in last year, it was nice to see him get a little playoff time in the NHL and get him a little here and there, and I think that helped him play into. And so, anybody young that's on your team that can get down the ice and score goals is always a good thing to have.
Yeah, I mean, like to see that, because I think a lot of general managers, when you hear them, they always talk about getting in that young talent because that's the future of the team. And if you can get those early, the ones that actually show off their talent early, like what Tomas Hertl did a couple years ago for the Sharks, and now Jonas Donskoy now. I mean, it's that's going to be huge in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Talent is key, and prospects are even better. And if you can find it and work them in, and they're good enough to play with you, start them off young, because the better you can make your team now, the better they'll be later on.
Yep. All right, so that's actually probably enough of the awards. And one of the things I actually I just got reminded of, I just have it up here on my screen, was might as well talk about it, would be last week. I think after actually All right, so we're back again. Sorry, I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, that was weird.
Anyways, so and Boyle, what do you think of his whole rant to the New York Times?
Well, I'm gonna go off into a little tirade myself. Not like that, but after watching the Super Bowl this year when Cam Newton went off on not on reporters, but just got up and left. I have to say this: it's your thing to talk to the media, but if you don't like how a guy is criticizing you, and I understand where he's coming from, we all hate criticism. It's good if it's constructive, but we all hate it. I mean, deep down inside, it hurts sometimes, but I think it was very interesting to see where he was coming from. Like, he didn't have a problem with a lot of them. It was just like the certain few. And I've never really sat down in an interview. I've been around them, but I've never really sat down and been questioned by people day in and day out like that. So for him, it probably got tiring for one guy to just sit there and rant on him. But I'm kind of interested in what the NHL will do, if they will discipline him at all, because it was definitely I mean, obviously it was at the end of the season, but it was definitely, for it to go public was crazy, I think.
Yeah, and initially I thought it would Dan Boyle was just getting upset from from the loss, but then I read the background of the whole entire thing of how this New York Times reporter would be writing up reports that the fact Boyle, it the yeah. So I really think that I mean Dan Boyle was not in the wrong for being that mad, but really I think that it's it's there's got to be a certain limit where really both reporters and players just got to find this line of professionalism to get what really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's both their jobs. The players go out and play, and then it's in their contract. They have to answer questions, but as a reporter, you need to know, like, you need to respect their stuff. If you're not going to respect their privacy and what they feel, then don't don't show up. Like, it's not necessary.
Yeah, definitely. But so one thing that I would like to keep in mind. So now that's dangerous because he'd be a free agent, and with that he's considered retiring because he's going to be like 40 years old pretty soon. He's probably not going to turn out to be a Yammer Yager and play another 5 or 6 years. But really, if he's going to retire, do you think he's going to sign with another team, like sign with maybe one of his old teams and retire, or do you think he's just going to flat out just say he's done?
Who was that again? Sorry, it kind of cut out.
With Dan Boyle, if since he wants to retire now.
Uh, I don't know. I feel like he could play maybe 1 or 2 more years, but I think he needs to just hang it up. It's a terrible way for him to go out, and it's a terrible way for him to. No one wants to go out on the losing end, no matter just not even with just the tirade. But I think that might have played more into his rant than more people think. I mean, he's got so much mind. Plus, it was after a loss. I mean, I'd love to see him play maybe 1 or 2 more years, go to a team that can get him a ring, but I think he might be done. I don't know if he has enough juice in the tank to play another full season, if that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. One of the things that probably I would say is that so yeah, I really think that he should hang up and call it a career, but I really think he shouldn't end it on that low note as he did, and he should like maybe sign like one of those 1-day contracts with a team that really treated him well, and I think that was San Jose. And if he like literally all he has to do is show up to the Shark Tank, and the fans, the coaches, the players, they all love him still. They did, just like when he visited San Jose during the season, they even played a tribute video to him, and he loved it because he realizes that they still love him. And if there's any place that he can retire, it's got to be there, because that's the only place that he'll end on a high note, being around the people that respect him the most.
Yeah, and I love when players go back to their original teams, even for a day contract worth $1 or something. Like, I love those kind of deals where you want to retire with your family, quote unquote, because if you had a great career somewhere and you're still loved by fans in a stadium that you might be hated in as a player, but as a person you're still absolutely adored by, you love to see those kind of stories. And I totally agree. If he goes back and signs a contract, it would wrap up his career as a great NHL player. So I definitely agree with that.
I mean, we saw that many times. I talked about this before. It would be like Evgeny Nabokov, I think as like after the 2010 series, he left the NHL, and then he decided to go to Russia for a couple years. He came back to the NHL, played for the New York Islanders for a little bit, and he realized he was getting old, and he was like, all right, I need to retire. So he retired with the one place that he loved, and that's San Jose again. So
Exactly.
that's it. And I think the same thing Brodeur when he went back to the New Jersey Devils and retired there. I mean, it's when you just love a place so much, you want to retire with them more than any place else.
Yeah, and it definitely makes everyone around you and the organization a lot better to say, hey, we retired a legend or a great. Like it's always great to see a player who's played at a place for years retire with them.
Yeah, definitely, and it's we'll definitely like to see what happens in the upcoming off season with Dan Boyle. We'll see what he does. I definitely hope the best for him. But with that actually in mind, we're pretty much running out of time, so we're going to go through our outro now. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Any Given Sunday with Rob Leano on KAMP Student Radio. Be sure to follow KAMP on KAMP_radio on Twitter, and also be sure to follow the Armchair All-Americans on Twitter, at ACL Americans, for up-to-date sporting news, including the latest updates in NHL hockey and the Stanley Cup Playoffs. And once again, my name is Rob Leano.
And I'm Aaron Socha.
And thank you for tuning in. Have a good day. All right, that was good.
That wasn't too bad. I wish I was a little more prepared for that, but